Hello, everybody. I'm Patty Patane. Meet the power of intelligent conversation. I would imagine that with rare exception, every single day, you and I do this. Voila, the lights go on. And we never think what's behind this. This. I think every single one of us has something in our home, our business, where we go to work that's got one of these plugged into this. Okay? They get plugged in. I never can get them right because there's two sides. But here you go. There's a reason for the big little one and the little one. Well, again, what's behind it and why? What you're going to learn, not only today, but in the next year, you're going to learn why this, which is an extension cord, and it comes with something on it that we cut off because we can't read it. It's too small. I can't even read it with glasses on. But this can be the single most dangerous piece of equipment in your home. It's an extension cord. You're going to learn why it is the single most dangerous piece of equipment in your home. Because, well, what I was told by a fireman, because you plug this into your wall like this, and then you plug something else into it that you want to run, and then you put it under a carpet and you forget that it's there, and then you walk on it over and over and over again, and suddenly what's this here, it wears out, it burns your house down. This, a simple extension cord. You'll learn why this happens, other than stupidity. So please don't do that. I like my audience, okay? Just understand this. Also, this is your friend. We all know what this is. You plug a bunch of stuff into it, but it's got a little on-off switch, and we'll learn that if you're going to plug something into something, try and have one of these in between it, between the pluggy and the plug-or, okay? Very important. Now, another thing which I happened to did just over this past weekend, I've been learning that other than the extension cord and a couple of other things that we do on a daily basis that aren't very smart, we don't bother to clean out this thing which is your vent for your dryer that dries your clothes in your house, because it gets a lot of lint in it, and it starts a fire in your house. So I moved the dryer, I took this thing off, and this was twice as long as it needed to be, so this is the spare part that came off. So over the next several months, you're going to learn this among many, many other things. Now, all the stuff I showed you doesn't come with as much instruction as a hose. Now, a hose cannot kill you when you are running water through it. Everything I've shown you to date can kill you and your family, and your puppies, and your bird, and everything that matters to you. So something is not quite right when you get more instructions for a hose than you do for an extension cord. So I'm going to try and correct that error in education and information. Now, some of you might recall, not too long ago, a building, and it happens more often than not. This one happened to make the news because it was in New York City. This is a great headline from the New York Post. Dumb and Plumber. I'm sure it's a takeoff on that movie Dumb and Dumber, but this was dumb. A plumber has admitted to illegally tapping into a gas line that erupted, killed 2 people, whole building came down, including 2 of them next to it. You can't do this, folks. You can't become a do-it-yourself electrician or a do-it-yourself plumber, because electrical and gas, which is done by licensed, trained plumbers, thank you, they don't go together well. if they're not done properly. So, I know you probably think, you know, the last thing I need, Patty, is a lesson in electricity. Well, no, as a matter of fact, it's the first thing you need. Because you just go on, check the news. Somebody's burning their house down with their children, their wives, their husbands, their spouses, their significant others, and their puppies in it. And it doesn't happen by accident. It happens because of a lack of education. And if I don't give you anything else through all the years that I've been doing this, it's how can I give you some information that'll help you through this life safely? Safety, 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 please. Now, I have someone here today that knows a lot about this. And we're not going to touch so much on the safety of the stuff in this program. We're going to talk about it in other programs. But how do you get from preventing all of these things from doing bad things to you? That's the key. And I recently learned that there's something called NECA, N-E-C-A, NECA. A lot of this came about because I'm in a leased house for the first time in 3 decades. And I went to plug something in the beginning. I plug up, like a vacuum cleaner. I know, I don't do it often, but a vacuum cleaner got plugged in. And then at the same time, I had something running in a crock pot. It all stopped. Well, why did it stop? Well, because somehow or another, I asked too much of the switch thing, the plug-in deal. I asked too much of it when it was doing 2 things at the same time. Why did it do that? Well, because something behind the walls, and whenever this home was built, and it's a relatively new house, it just wasn't done to what I would call the standard I'd feel safe with living in a home, okay? So that got me thinking. The other thing that really got me off was, guess what? I went to buy a new light bulb. And that's another show altogether, but trust me, folks, you will be hearing about how to buy a light bulb very soon, because it's a whole new ballgame out there. So between the light bulbs that aren't light bulbs anymore and don't cost $1, they cost $10, $30 and up, I'm going to help you out there also. In the meantime, it's about safety. It's about education, it's about safety, and it's about getting what you pay for. And if you think that that's not true, you just hang in there with me. NECA, N-E-C-A. Who are you and what do you do?
My name is David Schenkel, and I'm the Executive Director of the National Electrical Contractors Association for Riverside and San Bernardino counties.
You know, I never heard of you up until I was invited to a meeting in September of 2014. And suddenly I started hearing about all this education and the difference between hiring a handyman or an electrician, and don't get off on me, please. Please don't go there. Let me tell you something. Everybody is doing the best they know how to do, the absolute best they know how to do. Every handyman, every electrician, every plumber, every person who builds steel into a house, carpet, they're all doing the best they know how to do. But boy, did my eyes get opened in this meeting I attended. So you're an executive director, and you have a lot to do with electricity. History. Who is NECA, and what does it do?
NECA is the National Electrical Contractors Association. We represent electrical contractors around the country, just about 4,000 of them. We've been in existence since 1901. The first meeting was at the Pan American Exposition in Buffalo, New York, and about 20 contractors got together to talk about codes and changes in their new technology and safety.
Was this after Nikola Tesla, and it, by the way, it was Tesla that invented, created the electricity we know today, where the switch goes on and off? It was Tesla. And you can thank the Tesla motor car for bringing us up to date on that, because we suddenly heard of this man. So 1901, did we have electricity? Like you didn't switch, did you switch a switch back then?
I'm not sure because I didn't live back then. But it was the largest electrical display in the world at the time, and that's why they all got together. I assume they had switches. That's how you turned on
Oh,
electricity.
I think they had buttons. I think they
The
had
little buttons
Yeah,
on the
I
walls.
remember seeing a button on a history show. You press button for on and button for off. Now we have switches, and now you have dimmer thingies and all that stuff. So a bunch of guys get together, and at the time it was guys, but today it's both men and women who are electrical contractors and professional electricians. And I'm here to try and encourage more young women to enter the field of being an electrician, a journeyman electrician, as a matter of fact. We're going to learn about that. So NECA helps set some kind of standard. Is that what you do?
Yes. We set a standard. We do a lot of different things. We have standard of installation, which is written by NECA for installing certain types of equipment. NECA also sits with the IBW and the National Fire Protection Association to write the National Electrical Code.
As I understand it, you also have an association with something called Underwriters Laboratory. Without electrical contractors and professional electricians, this Underwriters Laboratories, which sets us, they determine, with that little UL thing that's all over this stuff I showed, without that UL thing, this is not a very safe piece of thing, right?
That's the industry standard,
Yeah,
yes.
the industry. But you guys helped write the industry standard, did you not?
Yes.
So NECA, what are you doing in San Bernardino and Riverside County? I mean, we have a lot of electricians in this region, Southern California, lots of them. Do you give them something they can't get if they aren't a member of your organization?
Well, we have what we consider the best skilled and trained electricians working for our contractors. We educate the contractors, and then we also have an apprenticeship program that educates the electricians.
Apprenticeship. We don't hear much of that anymore. How long has it been? I think it's been in about the last 30 years. When I went to high school, just a little more than 30 years ago, they had something called home economics, they had wood shop, they had auto shop, they had all this stuff. I presume you are familiar with that also.
Yes.
Having gone to high school and understood the value of hands-on. They're not doing that very much anymore, but they're coming back to it because somebody in education figured out, oops, we made a mistake. We eliminated these essential hands-on curriculum in our public schools, and now they're getting back to it. So the apprenticeship word has come up. Apprenticeship basically means what?
The master teaching the apprentice, the trade.
The beginner.
Yes.
And then you become, and part of NECA and the association with IBEW is bringing them from either just out of high school, or is there an age limit to what you can do in like IBEW, NECA, anything like that?
No, just the bottom, it's 18, and we ask for a high school diploma or a GED. But no, they can come in at any age.
So if you're out there and you're looking for a career, a really good career, I might add, see, Riverside County, IBEW and NECA, you all have been in Riverside County since 1936, I think my history taught me,
Yeah,
1936.
Yes.
Let's talk a minute about what are the advantages of becoming a graduate apprentice to something called a journeyman. How did these names come about? Journeyman, what does journeyman mean?
It's a traditional classification that's been around for centuries. You can go back into the times when they built churches and the cathedrals, and it was the journeymen that traveled around to build these.
Okay.
So it was a sign of a skilled craftsman. You have journeymen in plumbing, journeymen in electricity, journeymen in carpentry. It's a kind of a stamp of approval that this is somebody that knows what they're doing.
So in ancient times, they didn't always have an expert builder in a village or in a small community, so these experts traveled from point A to point B to service that other community or village in his particular building skill.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Journeyman, learned something today. So you come out of high school. Let's start with the high school kids coming out of high school. And this is also because one of my favorite subjects happens to be veterans. We are targeting my programming towards veterans, particularly severely wounded and wounded veterans, although everyone who served is more than welcome. And the Coachella Valley high school students coming out of Coachella high schools.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give you an opportunity to make an incredible living, have an incredibly secure future for you and your family. And you all offer some pretty good stuff. I have been doing some research. Let's see, here's one that came, Consumer Reports. Everybody knows about that. Buried under student loan debt? Really? No kidding. I bet you are. Yes, hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases. So you and IBEW want to train people to be really good electricians.
Yes.
What's it going to cost them to go to your school, your training facility, which is, by the way, all this stuff here. You're going to learn about this a little later. All these wires and stuff. What's it cost to get an education, and how long do I have to go to your school, and can I work, and you're going to pay me? Let's start with how long do I have to go to school and where?
It's a 5-year program. You would come here. It's 2 nights a week. It follows the same schedule as a community college schedule. As far as how much it costs, the first year it's $0. We pay for the books and everything the first year. Second year through 5th, you have to pay for the books, and it costs anywhere between $350 and maybe $500 for the year.
That would be for
Yes,
these?
Yes.
You get to read all of them, every last one of them. It may seem daunting, but it really isn't. As I've come to sort of, kind of understand it, electricity is, if you understand how it works, which is what you teach is the how.
Mm-hmm.
Once you know how something works, it becomes relatively second nature to make sure you do it properly. All right?
I would agree with that.
Okay, good. I'm getting smarter by the second. All right, hypothetically, I'm just graduating from high school. Then I'm going to be 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And I've listened to this program, and I found out that I go to school for 5 years. And all my friends are going to college, and they're ending up with a lot of college debt. Lots of money. And yet, you're not charging me anything to go to school. And at the same time, I am an apprentice for those 5 years. So I'm working the whole time and getting paid.
Correct.
How much are you going to pay me?
I call it the $400,000 learning experience. In fact, just for this interview, I did a little calculation yesterday, came up with it's just under $400,000 between the pay that they get over 5 years, their health and welfare they will get, their retirement that the contractors pay for, and then the schooling. It adds up to just a little bit, about $397,000, I figured.
$397,000.
Yes, and
Give or take a couple bucks.
And then I took it one step further, and I looked at University of Riverside, or University of California, Riverside, and that would cost you about $130,000 over a 5-year period. And then I checked with University of Redlands, which would cost you about $215,000 over the same 5 years.
And while you're going to these universities,
You don't get paid.
you do not get paid, unless, of course, you're saying, would you like fries with that? You can get a job, you know, a night job or a something job to help put your way through college. But this seems to me to be one of the best deals going in education today. I don't know of anything any better.
Neither do I.
I mean,
went
you
to
know,
college.
you're kind of like affiliated with NECA because you've been doing this for close to 30 years, but you're not an electrician.
No.
You're a management specialist. Benefits, salaries. So, want to be an electrician? There was a recent headline in the news in New York. It also spread nationwide. The former mayor of New York, Mr. Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, he came out and said, hey, tell your kid to become a plumber. Could be a plumber, an electrician, an iron worker, you name it. If it's in the trades, in the building trades, he's suggesting you do that because you end up being a professional with no debt. You've gone to school the entire time, you've gone to work the entire time, you've made money the entire time, you're saving money the entire time, and you've got this really good health insurance plan. Who pays for it? Who's paying for all this,
The
David?
employers.
The employers pay for it. But wait a minute, I'm the student here, I'm the apprentice. I'm 18, I decide I want to become an electrician. So I end up coming to, well, here's a phone number. Call me. I'll tell you all about it. Call me, 760-578-0580. Instead of giving you everybody's phone numbers between NECA and IBW and this one and that one, I'm going to give you my phone number. And that was it, right here. Patty, phone number. Okay, let me get this straight. Come out of high school, you would like us to have had a couple of semesters of algebra.
Yes.
Because, DC theory. DC stands for, DC?
Direct current.
Direct current. But that's not what AC,
Alternating current.
right. And AC is what Mr. Tesla came up with, I believe. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, he did. Yes. We're looking at our teachers over here because we have two of them. You will meet them soon. Okay. AC current. Yeah, that's right. Okay. This is the second year books. I learned that from Rick, the director of the training facility. Second year, you're going to read these books. So it's a matter of knowing why something happens as opposed to just doing it, because you put the red and the black and the green wire into the back of this little switch, and if you don't put it in properly, well, let's see. If there's a gas leak in the house, guess what? Boom. If there's wood or paper or anything, or like in your dryer, lint, burn. So there's really no room for error here. None. Zero room for error when it comes to these specific building trades. Everybody's saying, oh yeah, well, how much money am I going to make, and what's my retirement, and what kind of health benefits? You know, you get health benefits and you pay God knows what. But this is different. You're different.
Yes. When you graduate from our program, you're going to be pretty much guaranteed a job paying you about $75,000 a year as a journeyman electrician. You're going to get about...
Now let's repeat that. 5 years, and the time you're going, let's start with going to school, okay? You graduate from high school, and if you haven't taken the 2 courses of math, Will you guys teach me here the math? The algebra type thing?
Yes, and we have, to prepare you for it, we have a prep online course that you can take.
Oh, cool.
So
You're making every effort to make this easy, aren't you?
we try.
But you make it tough too, don't you?
Yes,
Okay. You want the best of the best.
hopefully we get
Okay.
those.
Well, hey, listen, you got my life in your hands. I want the absolute best person fixing something electrical or building the house I'm living in. Oh, I just want the best that can be. It's my life, my puppies. Salary. Okay, I'm just out of high school. I've decided I'm going to join IBEW, and I'm going to go into an apprenticeship program because I passed the little tests that you give me, and you think I'm a good person, and I'm going to be there, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to work hard. And I'm going to learn all about safety. What are you going to pay me when I'm out there working 8 hours a day, then 2 days a week I have to go to 3 hours of night school twice a week? What are you going to pay me when I'm out there working while I'm learning?
We're going to pay you as a first-year apprentice. You're going to make 50 or 40% of the journeyman salary.
I can't do math.
That's probably about $14 an hour.
You start out at $14 an hour?
Yes.
Start out.
Start out.
Not minimum wage, starting out. And you know nothing about all these wires and everything here. You know
Correct.
nothing about what's in these books, and you're going to pay me $14 an hour to start? Okay,
Yes.
how much of that are you going to take out? Because, let's see. Let's go with the most important thing at this age. Well, no, I'm healthy. What do I need health insurance for?
We have health insurance for everybody, and it provides for the entire family,
Starting at day one.
starting at day
Okay,
one.
I'm making $14 an hour. How much of that are you taking to pay for my health insurance?
Nothing. It's above and add it to that. It's another about $8.50 an hour.
Huh? No, I don't get it. Wait a minute. You just said I was going to get paid $14 an hour.
That's on your paycheck. Then the health and welfare is $8.70 an hour, as a matter of fact, in Riverside.
Who's paying that?
The employer.
The electrical contractor?
That's correct.
Boy, doesn't that just shoot the cost of having an electrical contractor that has apprentices and that works with NECA and IBEW? Doesn't that just shoot the cost of my constructing my home or fixing my little problem, the little switchy thing in my house? Doesn't that send the cost sky high?
It'll add to it a little bit, but not when you consider it on the overall cost of construction. The wage is not that big of a component.
Oh, well, that's math, and because I don't do that well, I'm going to do another show with David, and I am going to get into the math. We might have somebody with us that understands the math really good when it comes to this, but you've got it down pretty good. Okay, so another $8 on top of that. So let's go with 14, 50. It's pretty embarrassing. I mean, here I am counting on my fingers. See, 14.
The electrician, you could do it.
Yeah, well, thank you. 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22 an hour. All right, now that includes the health benefit for me and my family. What if I don't have any family? Do I still have to pay the whole thing?
Yes,
Okay, that's good, that's fine. You also have something called retirement that you mentioned.
that's correct. In your first year, the only retirement you have is our National NEBF Fund, which is National Electrical Benefit Fund. It's 3% of the salary. That's all we pay the first year.
Is that the $14 or the 20?
It's 3% of the 14.
Okay, so 3% of 14 is?
36 cents an hour. So the first year, they're going to get 36 cents an hour towards their retirement, okay?
In a fund?
Yes.
Oh, so we're talking, here's what we're talking here. See if I've got this right.
Okay.
I remember a few years ago there was a thing called a recession, and little companies like Enron and a bunch of this Wall Street banks and stuff. There's a lot of people that worked for companies that had retirement accounts, and they lost them. They went away. They didn't have any value when the economy went south. You're going to sit here and tell me that if I start out at the age of 18 and you get 35 cents an hour from me / my employer. For my retirement, I'm looking ahead 30 years now, that money's going to be there for me, unlike what they do in Wall Street. They take all these billions from all these people, screw up their retirement funds, hurt them, and they end up with nothing or less than they had. How are you going to tell me that you're going to take my 35 cents an hour and make sure that I have it when I decide that after 30 or some odd years or 25 years or whatever, my money's going to be there? What makes you so smart?
We're not the smartest, but we have laws that govern it.
Laws?
Laws. It's called, one is ERISA, Employee Retirement Income Security Act. As a trustee that sits on these pension funds, I can go to jail. I can lose everything I own, my home, everything I've worked for all my life if these funds go under. Now, we don't take the money like an Enron. What happened in Enron was they put all the money in their company stock, so when the company went down, there was nothing left. We allocate our monies over a wide spectrum of investments.
What do you know about investing?
Not a whole lot, but we have about 15 trustees, and then we have about 22 money managers, and
Just for this Riverside and San Bernardino County?
well, the one I was talking about, the 36 cents, that one is in Washington, D.C. I don't sit as a trustee on that one, but that one's about $14 billion. So they're even larger than what I'm talking about. Our local pension is a little over $1 billion, and as I said, we have 15 trustees.
Are they electricians?
Half of them are. Half of them are from the union side of the table, and the other half is management, just like myself, and contractors.
So how do you make money with my 35 cents an hour? All these what do you call them? All these financial advisors, they're advising you, because if you just did the 35 cents, with everybody putting their 35 cents an hour in, at the end of, when people start to retire, after what's the average, about 30 years or something like that?
About 30 years.
About
yes.
30 years as an electrician. You start to retire, the 35 cents doesn't add up if you just took it by itself to a nice retirement. You have to make that money grow without
Exactly.
losing it. And you've been pretty good at that?
Yes.
Remember, folks, it's not like Wall Street. He and his fellow trustees mess up with the money, he goes to jail. Not a little bad Wall Street, bad. It's you go to jail along with all of your other fellow electricians and contractors and
Bingo.
executives. You are gone. That's a good thing. And how many years have you served on your trustee board for your retirement benefit?
28 years.
28 years?
Yes.
So obviously you've done it right because you're still here.
Hopefully.
All right, I've worked for, of course, can I retire at 20 years and get something?
Yes, you can.
I can.
But it won't be as good as if you retire. It's based on hours and age.
Okay, so you start out and let's say you enter the training apprenticeship program to become an electrician at the age of 18. Okay, and then you stay in for 30 years where you work the whole time. Okay, 30 and 18 is 48 years old. So here I am, I'm 48 years old. I've been working steadily as an electrician for all these years, and I've met members of the electrical IBEW, by the way. I've met them, men and women, and they've been in for 25 and 30 years, and they have nothing but good things to say about you guys. I haven't heard a single negative. Now we're talking construction, craftsman, trades here, okay? I'm really pretty high on these building trades because of the job availability, the retirement funds, the health. Gee, golly. All right, here's the magic number. I worked for 30 years, and you've taken 35 cents an hour that I could have been getting, that the employer could have been paying me, but has been paid into this trust fund that you control. You and a bunch of other people.
Mm-hmm.
How much is there for me at the age of 48 years old? Come on.
Well, I have to explain because it doesn't stay 35 cents the next year. It jumps up to about $5 and something, and then each year it goes up 10%. So over that time, you'll probably, if you were to retire today, I would guess you would be getting about $4,000 a month from our local
$4,000 a month in retirement?
Our local retirement. And then the big one that I talked about, that 36 cents went to originally, you would get, if you had 30 years, you would only get about a little over $1,000 because it's $32 per month for each year you have into that one. But then we have a third one, which is your DC pension. And if you put money in that over 30 years, you should probably have $500,000 sitting there.
Oh, wait a minute.
Of cash.
Cash?
Mm-hmm.
So you add up all these retirement funds,
Mm-hmm.
you have 3 of them. You add them all up, it comes to several $1 million, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like 3, 4, depending on the economy and the amount of
I don't know
growth.
the number exactly, but when you look at
If you're
it,
curious, folks, call me. We'll give you a number, okay? So here's a young man, a young woman, coming out of high school, and they come to school that doesn't cost them anything. They go to work immediately, side by side with an experienced electrician. And they end up at the age of 48 years old with, at the very minimum, $4,000 to $5,000 a month in retirement. That's it?
That's it.
I read something. Yes. It's about Social Security. I have a note here someplace, which of course I can't find, so I'm going to have to wing it. Yes, I'm going to have to wing it. Let me see if I remember. The average Social Security check, if you take it at the age of, let's just say 65, the average Social Security check is like $1,200 a month. It's not $4,000 a month. It's not $5,000 a month. It is $1,200 a month. And if that's all you've got, because money management is not something that we Americans are noted for, because when we're young, we figure, oh, hey, no big deal. I'll think about that later. Well, folks, guess what? Later comes sooner than you can begin to imagine. I'm at later. And it happens very fast. But when you're 17 or 18 years old or 20 or 30 or whatever, you don't think about that. I'd like you to think about the difference between $1,200 a month, the average Social Security check in America today, which comes to about $15,000. Yeah, I think I remember my note. $15,000 a year. Good. $15,000 a year. That's how much $1,260, which is the average Social Security payment that we receive. $15,000. That is just a little bit higher than the poverty level in this country, which is considered to be $12,000 a year. Do you have that? Huh? Social Security maybe will pay you $15,000 a year. And poverty level is 12. Might I make a recommendation? Become an electrician, because you will get $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, and how do you like Medicare, folks? How do you like today's healthcare system? How do you like that? I've talked to a lot of people. They don't like today's healthcare system. It's not very good. So now that we have your attention with the retirement benefits and with the ongoing, oh, wait a minute, let's say I'm working. Okay, I'm working as an electrician. Mm-hmm. I've graduated, I've read all these books, I've graduated, I've worked the whole time, and I become this professional craftsman electrician, who, by the way, the doctor, the judge, those lawyers, my surgeon, any professional. You can't do your job if you can't put the light switch on. Just thought I'd bring that along. So we need you all. Really need you all. But we need you. All right, let's sweeten the pot. You have something called a health and welfare trust account. That's another benefit. So it's health insurance.
Exactly.
Why is yours better than what I get on Medicare? And by the way, can I get both? You know, if I retire, you know, and
Yes.
so I get both Medicare and I get my health and welfare money you've taken out of me, or the employer, my guy, the man or woman I've worked for all these years, as an electrician. What kind of health? So what makes yours so good?
Our health plans are excellent. We call them Cadillac plans. Hopefully we don't get taxed because of that. But our plans are excellent. They provide for the whole family. Most of them are $15 to $20 copays when you go in to see a doctor or for your prescriptions.
Can you go where you want to go? Or do you have to go within your network thing?
It depends. Within our health plans, we have like 3 different health plans. You have an HMO, you have a Kaiser, which is an HMO, but Kaiser kind of stands on its own and everything. And then you have a self-insured program, which we do have a network of providers, and we pay like a 90-10, 90% of the cost they share in 10%.
So what keeps ringing in my head is the $20. That's pretty good for premium health insurance. Mm-hmm. Okay. Everybody pays. Okay, come on. How much of this is have you taken a big premium out of my electrical paycheck every month after I graduate from the electrician apprenticeship program?
No, that's another employer contribution.
So the employer spreads this out over all of his work, and so you don't even have to worry about this.
Nope.
What you're telling me is if I want to become a member of a building trade, specifically electrical, you're going to take pretty good care of me.
Yes.
Well, what do I have to do?
Come to work and have an attitude of working.
Show up?
We're just asking for people to show up and do their job 8 hours a day.
But from what I gathered, if you know all that's in these books, you're going to do it better than anybody else.
That's our
That's
plan.
the goal.
Yes.
Do most young men and women coming into your apprenticeship programs, do they have a clue how valuable their service is? Do they have any idea that without this knowledge, people can die in fires that are started because something wasn't done properly behind the switch?
Well, that's what we try to teach them. We try to teach them exactly why something works. We like to say the difference between our electricians and the non-union electrician is the non-union knows how to put in a system, our electrician knows how to put it in and why it works and understand how to correct it if something would happen, troubleshoot it. So we try to make them the best electrician we can when they come in, so that, because I think everybody takes electricity for granted these days.
Well, yeah,
even our electricians
the
to a
thingy,
degree,
you know,
especially our new kids coming in. They have no idea because they're used to playing with electronic gadgets all day long. They have no idea what it takes to make those things run and how dangerous it can be.
If you watch any kind of television today, all right, let's call it any kind of media today. Anything that's on a big screen to me is television, even though it may be through a computer. So you're watching on this big, huge screen, and you see, these home shows, you know, the home and garden thing, do it yourself. Do not do it yourself when it comes to electrical. Don't do that. Please. Please, don't do that. It's just not worth it. It is not worth it. And to all of you handy men and women out there, and to all of you electrical contractors out there who did not read all these books and did not go to the school that is sponsored by NECA and IBEW, you can do that now. They have all these special programs that you can kind of, I think, leap over the 5 years and learn this. I'm not here to sell you on, do I have to pay a membership dues if I belong to, what is this, IBEW? Do I pay membership dues?
Yes, they have a membership dues.
It's going to cost me a lot of money?
It's 5%.
Of my salary?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's say $15 an hour going to school, or $14 an hour.
Okay.
When I'm going the first 5 years. And at the end of that 5 years, I will have made, in a salary, I will have earned about, what we say,
About $300,000.
$300,000. Okay, so 5%, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Of 300,000 is 1.5, it's 15 something.
$15,000.
$15,000. Wow. That's it. Paid in $15,000. Boy, that's pretty good. And you're taking very good care of that money.
Mm-hmm.
Do I have an initiation fee to get into it? Do I have to pay a let's get started fee?
That I don't know, because that's the IBW side of
Okay.
the equation.
I'll find out.
I know they have a 5% working dues.
I'll tell
each
you what
month.
it's not. I happen to know that the men and women that work and help me with all my production and my cameras, if they belong to a union, and a couple of them have, their initiation, their get into the Protect Me cameraman union in California, they have to pay $10,000 up front for the privilege of joining the cameraman union. Be an electrician. Follow Michael Bloomberg's suggestion. Become a plumber, an electrician. I don't know. How did all this not hit the headlines of the news? What wasn't sexy enough about it? Didn't burn, didn't bleed until the house burns down, and then they find out it's an electrical defect?
I think it's because everything is hidden behind walls. Nobody can see
The
it.
bones.
Yes.
The bones they talk about in those home and garden, do-it-yourself, hello, I'm remodeling your house show.
Mm-hmm.
It's the bones that are important. You can buy the most beautiful looking, prettiest house in the world. You can go to work in the prettiest office building in the world. And if the bones of the structure suck, well, you could end up dying. And that simply is preventable. Absolutely preventable. There is something called, and I found this fascinating because it was in a conversation with an electrician that I had. There, back in 1941, right? 1941, Davis-Bacon? Okay, good. Our expert over here. His name is Rick.
I think it was earlier than that.
Davis-Bacon was 1941. Whatever, it was a few years ago. What's the Davis-Bacon Act?
It's a bill that basically dictates
It's a law.
a law, yes, that dictates what is the rate of pay on jobs that have federal or state money in them.
Well, you show me a school that isn't built today without federal or state money. You show me, well, that's a lot of buildings. That is a lot of building.
Mm-hmm.
So it means Davis-Bacon, like bacon and eggs, specifically means that do you have to have a person who went through all this school on this job Is there a law that says you have to have somebody that knows all this before you can use federal or state money to build like a school?
No.
No?
Nope.
Wasn't that stupid?
Kind of.
Why would my tax dollars, and that's what it is, it's our tax dollars, why would our tax dollars be allowed to be spent on, let's just be specific, school construction where children go to school, where they have to be safe in the environment? Why are they not requiring that the men and women that install the electrical and the natural gas lines, remember the headline? Boom. And it's very likely that gas, it's very likely that when a house explodes because natural gas is leaked out, it's most likely been triggered by someone flipping a electrical switch. Boom, boom. We're going to learn why that happens, by the way, because I'm fascinated by all this. But then I'm like a kid anyway when it comes to learning something. Davis-Bacon says you got to pay somebody a certain wage.
That's correct.
With federal. But that doesn't mean that they have to be educated with all these books and know why all this works.
That's correct.
There's no law.
Nope.
Well, doesn't common sense dictate that you, the public, if you serve on a school board, let's stick with the schools, okay? Let's just stick with schools because a lot of school construction goes on. But the experts, the best of the best, the ones that know the most there is to know at the time, they're not necessarily on these jobs that are being paid for with my tax dollars to build schools for the kids to be safe in.
That's correct.
Well, I might have an opinion on that at some point in time, ladies and gentlemen, but I think we'll let that slide for right now because I totally disagree with that. I just think it should be mandatory. I mean, it's enough to say you got to pay somebody a living wage, but it's another thing to be able to build a school without having the absolute best trained craftsman building that school or that public. You ever been to court? Gotten a few traffic tickets. Yeah, but that building wasn't built by the best of the best unless it was with a NECA contractor, then you're assured of getting the best?
That's what we say. Yes.
So NECA, the National Electrical Contractors Association, will only hire those individuals who have gone through the school, the training school, read all these books, learned everything there is to learn, taken a test, well, probably more than one. But wait a minute. You've got a lot of individuals out there, David, that have an electrical license. They have an electrical license. They didn't have to do all this, did they?
I don't know what you mean by an electrical license.
Well, like the state of California says, you know, if you're a contractor or an electrician, you have a license on your truck or something like that, a license number.
Well, as far as the state of California, contractors have to be licensed, and the only trade that has to be licensed is the electrician. It's called a state certification, and you have to have 8,000 hours in the electrical trade to take the test. And if you pass the test, then you get that certification.
But you don't necessarily have to have read all these books and gone to this school and become a member of IBW.
No.
But you're good. You're probably just not the best that can be.
Mm-hmm.
I did read something that in order for you to keep your I had to replace the light bulbs in the kitchen in my house. This is the kind of light bulb that I had, well, most of us have in our kitchens or in our homes that are in those cups on the ceiling. They're called something.
Incandescent.
Thank you. Well, they're called light bulbs.
Okay. Light bulbs.
So this happens to be that. So this burned out. Well, I had 6 of them. They all burned out. So I said, well, let me see. So I went to a light store and I looked around and they had all these lights, bulbs. Well, they sort of had light bulbs. I didn't have a clue what I was buying. So I bought one like this. It was a little bit bigger. Oh yeah, it was more like this. Okay, see? It was a mommy to this baby. And so I bought it, and I brought it home, and I had the crane came. I had to get the gardeners with the ladders and everything to change the light bulb. So we put the light bulb in, and I turned it on. And my kitchen is blue. And I have a picture of a blue kitchen here. It says it's blue, and I'm showing you that, blue. I didn't want a blue kitchen. I wanted a bright light kitchen like I'm used to. So that gave me an idea. So I called my friends at the NECA IBEW Training School Center in San Bernardino. And Laura, who is an electrician, I said help. And she's here to help us how to buy a light bulb.
You can feel and almost hear the echoes of time that hold the battles fought by the men and women who defended America during World War II. The Palm Springs Air Museum offers us the opportunity to touch history, hear the roar of the engines that powered America's armed forces into the age of combat flight. As a modern-day soldier walking through the history of this bygone war, I have come to realize that soldiers, such as myself, serve and fight under far different circumstances. Today, our families have peace of mind, unimagined by those back home during World War II. We have the gift of communications. Following battles that threaten our lives every day, we are able to call, email, or text home. Unless you have been there as a soldier or the family of a soldier, it is hard to imagine the importance of this contact. We also have, by comparison, relatively short tours of duty. I think of what it must have been like for the soldiers that flew these planes, drove the tanks, and marched the fields of battle, to be away from home continuously for years, often with little or no communication for months at a time. Letters, a handwritten letter, placed in an envelope, had to travel by land, sea, and air. Nothing was instant. Following the news of a major battle where thousands of men were killed in action, families waited in anguish to hear if their loved one was still alive. The only message received following the days or weeks of a battle was when a government car drove up to the home of a soldier and announced that he had died. When no service personnel were available due to the overwhelming number of those killed in action, the news was delivered by telegram. Bodies of dead soldiers came home following weeks, months, or years. Many have yet to come home. As a combat wounded veteran who served and fought in Afghanistan, I am more than lucky and ever so grateful. I have returned home to my wife and 2 little daughters. I'm going to work and wake up every morning knowing that I can support my family and support my fellow Purple Heart veterans. And for those soldiers who died in battle, their families hold their hearts. As I continue to serve them in any way I can, as commander of the Palm Springs Military Order of the Purple Heart, chapter number 755, named in honor of my friend who fought and died in Iraq, Private First Class Ming Sun. I am Justin Gardner, and I served.